Welcome to Girl Meets Gothic, where we explore Gothic goodness in all its guises. I am your host, Rebecca Cuthbert, here with my buddy, Lindsey Goddard, who is a lot of things, including an artist, an author, a podcaster, a publisher, a book reviewer. Lindsey, what am I missing?
A part-time monster.
A part-time monster, which is a big job. And I had known Lindsey a little while before this, but I have to show off Bob, everybody. So this is only some of the artwork that I've gotten from Lindsey. And Bob was a gift to my husband, and he is like the cutest little ghost ever. And I don't, Lindsey, can you tell us what he's made out of? Because I don't know, but
that is polymer clay.
He's 3D.
I just sculpt him by hand. He's lovingly sculpted with my own fingers, the little crinkles in his gown. And he's got a UV resin over him. If you speak craft, UV resin is amazing to crafters. It makes everything shiny and beautiful.
He's so cute. Okay, so first of all, Lindsey, I thought we could talk about your art, but you do so much more that we can't just talk about your art. So first of all, can you tell us how you got into making spooky Gothic art?
I think I've always kind of dabbled with it, and more recently I went the route of only making unique pieces in the sense that when I started trying to craft for online shops that I was doing, like online customers buying things from me, it started to very quickly feel like manufacturing, because you're factoring in how cheap can I get the materials and how many of these can I make. And it wasn't worth my time. The passion wasn't there. So really, I'll just get ideas from anywhere and just go for it. But a lot of times I'm just gluing weird things together, to be honest. People like it, though.
I love that as a process. And people can find your artwork at lindseygoddard.com. Mm-hmm. But also, I would encourage people to follow you on social media, because your work gets snapped up. So, it's not available for long. So following you on social media is where we see the new stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of at an in-between process. When I stopped selling online, it just became more of like people would request things, or I would post something I'm working on and people would buy it. After we record this, I am going to lindseygoddard.com and posting a blog of some of my past pieces that have sold, because I've got a little pile of show and tell stuff for you here, but a lot of my really cute stuff, it already found homes. And so if you go to lindseygoddard.com, it should be there by the time this gets up, because I'm going to go do it tonight, and some examples of some things I've made in the past.
Awesome. What are your favorite things to make, or what have been your favorite things to make so far?
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't know if it's a favorite, but I'll just go into, Goodwill and just find, creepy things to paint. Well, one of my favorites is over here. I don't know how good the webcam will get it, but I didn't put it up for sale because, first of all, it features a poem by Clive Barker, so that felt kind of like selling another author's work, and I love this poem, so in the end, I kind of made it for me. But this piece, I did another ghost on it, as you can see. And it's all it's based on the poem that's framed here. And these are some feathers that I preserved with UV resin, which is a magical thing. And these are some shark teeth that are apparently 50 million years old.
That is wild.
Yeah. According to the seller. Like, I didn't dig them up out of the ocean, but the seller said. So.
Sounds good.
And there's some coyote molars here, too.
Where, maybe I shouldn't ask you where you're getting coyote molars. Maybe we'll just let that be a mystery.
I actually do a painstaking amount of messaging with people that I buy from, as much as you can trust fellow humans. We won't get into that, open that can of worms, but yeah, from people that I know.
That's awesome. But you're a multimedia artist. So you do art, you do writing, you do art that tends to blend into writing. So how do you see that bridge for yourself between visual art and word art, I'm going to say, because I can't think of a better word for it.
Well, I can do another show and tell then.
Do it.
Well, I'm a goth girl, so we're obsessed with cemeteries, right? You like cemeteries, right?
I do like cemeteries. I wear a lot of beige, but I like cemeteries. I'm wearing green today, which is exciting.
You're a neutral. Yeah. You're a neutral goth.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if beige goth is a thing, but
there's a glare. There's a huge glare from my lamp, but I do a lot of cemetery photography, and then sometimes I'll edit it into little pretty colors and frame it. You might be able to see this one better.
Yeah.
But so anyway, since I have so much cemetery photography on hand, I've started submitting it to anthologies, and there's actually an anthology that just came out through Dark Moon Rising Publications called The Beauty in Darkness, and there's a handful of my cemetery photography in there as well as my poetry.
That's awesome. And now, speaking of your poetry, and sorry everybody, but Lindsey does everything, so we're jumping around a little bit. Yeah. So speaking of anthologies now, another way that Lindsey and I are connected is that she put out this lovely poetry anthology called Sleeve of Hearts. So do you want to tell us how that whole thing got started? Because that seemed to be a project that grew in popularity really quickly.
Yeah, it was absolutely fueled by all of our passion and love. There's 52 poets in the pages of Sleeve of Hearts. And how it originated is that I am editor-in-chief of weirdwideweb.org, where I host writing contests. And there had already been 2 fiction contests, so I thought, let's do a poetry contest. Well, it got to the point where I just didn't want to pick 10 winners, and I started thinking, let's do a poetry anthology. And the more excited I got, the more it snowballed, and it happened so quickly. Really, I got this great cover artist, Rebecca Cuthbert, and after I posted that cover, people were starting to email in their poetry like nobody's business, and she even sent me a really cool poem. So
I love that project. It felt like such a community project. You know, because, you definitely curated, you definitely edited, you put everything together in a really purposeful way, but you brought us all onto a Facebook page. So we all started chatting with each other, and the page still exists, and we can still chat with each other. And so it seemed like more than just like your standard anthology where you put people in it. And
it really is. Because in today's everything going on in today's world, it is thin ice creatively.
Yeah.
There's books being banned. There's a lot of censorship. There's a lot of cancel culture. And I do think I sort of created a free space there where people felt like they could open up their hearts, which works perfect for an anthology based on opening up your heart, putting it on your sleeve.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really gorgeous anthology, folks, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely pick up a copy of Sleeve of Hearts. So I'm mentioning Weird Wide Web. So you have a podcast, you have a blog, you have writing contests, you have book reviews, and so I'm wondering how Weird Wide Web got started and then how it grew to what it is today. Like, what was the first thing you did with that website?
I actually bought weirdwideweb.org at the very beginning of 2020, and I had planned on starting a podcast and doing a bunch with it. And even though the pandemic really should have had no bearing on that, somehow it just feels like everything shut down and everything got put off. So for a few years, it was just blog posts. It's not just book reviews. We do anything that's like alt music and horror movies, of course, all sorts of reviews. But I did always want to do a podcast, and I kind of described last year, 2024, as my rebirth creatively, because honestly, it's probably due to suffering a lot of loss in my life in the past. It does kind of light a fire under you in some way, because you realize life is very fragile and you might not have tomorrow. And suddenly I just felt like I need to go, go, go. And so I started interviewing more people for the blog, and that kind of turned into the podcast. I already was doing the writing contests, but I had only planned on doing one of those per year, and that turned into 2 fiction ones, and then obviously the poetry anthology. So, like I said, just a happy snowball, really.
Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you still want to do?
Yes, I just right now want to accomplish the things I've put on the table, because I've really set the table large. I guess it doesn't really spoil too much for me to give a little teaser that Weird Wide Web will have a horror comedy anthology coming out this summer. So I will be editing that. I said I wasn't going to get back into publishing.
You're not doing a good job at not publishing things.
I know. What the heck?
Failing at that. How did the comedy horror one come about? And by the way, I think we need more comedy right now, so the timing is perfect. But where did that one come from?
You stole my answer. That's exactly why. I mean, we just need it right now. We do. I read a lot of really intense stuff, but I do like to alternate it with the horror comedy. Or, it doesn't have to be horror, but that's my sweet spot. So yeah. The world could just use it. That's the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. What else? What else is going on with you in your world? What are you working on? What can you share with us? Because you might not be able to do spoilers, and I know you can't maybe share with us things that don't yet have contracts, but what are the things you're excited about coming out from you?
I know the things that we can't talk about, it always seems like the best. Is that just because the grass is greener on the other side, or? Maybe we're excited about all the things coming up, but I see you posting all the time. You're like, I got this accepted for publication, or I got that accepted for publication. Like, you're just on fire. I did just sort of drop a poetry collection. It's a little bit edgy, so if you're not into mature content, you might want to pass on it. But you can find info on that at lindseybethgoddard.com/trapped. It's called Trapped Verse, and it's collected poetry that kind of sat around in my head too long, so it felt trapped, and I let it out, so you could have it now.
What are the themes that we could expect in that?
Maybe some rageful feminism. I'm sorry.
No, I think, here's the place for it.
But, also just all the basic human stuff like love and grief, but there is definitely some rageful feminism going on in those pages, I think. Which people got confused by the cover, because it may not at first glance give that impression, but you'll get it. You'll get it if you pick it up and read it. You'll get it.
Yeah. Which, maybe that's a little teaser for people to want to go get it. We won't show you the cover, but I know what the cover looks like. So everyone should go look that up, and then they're going to want the book once they see the cover.
Maybe.
Anybody listening to this will.
Yeah, these are good people. I know.
Yeah. If you're out there, you're our people. If you're here with us now, what is your favorite genre to write, though?
I think
because
right now,
you've got poetry, you've got short fiction, you've got longer fiction.
Oh goodness! Right now, I'm gonna say that the next one I want to do as a short story is a horror comedy. But I'm also simultaneously writing a true crime book about murder in my home state of Missouri. I'm working on a novel that is not in any way funny, which is more a crime drama horror. but I'm really digging this idea of horror comedy because although I've ingested a lot of it over the years, both in cinema and in literature, I haven't really written much of it. And I feel like my funny has come out a little bit. I'm a little bit more funny. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe people think I'm not funny. I don't know.
I'm sure they do. They do. What have been some of your favorites to read and watch that have influenced your own comedy horror? Like if you had to pick a movie to recommend to people.
Oh, a horror comedy movie?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to go reference one of my old blogs for that. Oh my gosh, I made a list of like 20 of them at one point.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. And I think that sometimes people don't realize how much horror is horror comedy, sort of like tongue in cheek. Like it's not just like a bad movie. It's like it's purposely silly, you know?
I think some of my favorite ones is when they blend it with like the teenage metal characters, because there's a few different ones like that, and that always cracks me up. If you throw like the metal kids in there facing off with some demon, I'm just that immature. Like I'll just be cracking up the whole time.
You're there for it. You're there for it. Yeah, I love. It's like very niche, I guess, but I love comedy horror that takes place at nursing homes. So like a Bubba Hotep situation, like love that. Yeah, yes. I just think it's hysterical, and I think it's such a weird, good magic blend.
Yeah.
No,
I've never read it. I only watched it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joe Lansdale.
I bet he forgives you. He forgives you. Anybody who's like, oh, I got my book made into a movie, like they have to. You know what I mean? It's like,
show off.
Yeah, like you can't be mad at us if we didn't read the book when you got your book made into a movie.
Although I do have some friends that sometimes I'll turn to another friend who doesn't know, and I'll show them my phone. I'll be like, they have a movie. It's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah, it is exciting. One day, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, someday I'm going to have my work totally ripped apart and turned into like probably something I don't even like. And I'm going to be so happy about it.
They're going to buy the rights from you and then ruin it.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Someday, everybody. Keep us in your prayers for that. Okay, so I distracted us. Before I distracted us, we were talking about the projects you have coming up and how they're all in these different sort of genres and lengths. And then I was going to ask you how you juggle all of these, because also everybody, if you follow Lindsey on social media, you're going to see every 3 days that she's like, oh, I have a new idea for this thing. I'm already working on 17 things, but I'm going to start working on this thing now. So do you have a system?
Yeah, even though it drives some people nuts, I will just super focus on one thing at a time. Like if you send me a submission for something I'm not focused on, I'll send you a confirmation saying I got this and I'll get to it, but I'm focused on this other thing. Like I just got through all the Easter submissions because we're going to do a silly Easter special on the podcast. But really that is how I have to do it, is what I'm focused on is what I'm focused on at the time until that's complete.
Do you have a list then of like
mentally for whatever that's worth up there? I don't know. Yeah. I try.
I make lists and then I lose them, so they don't help at all. And then, so something that you and I have in common, and I think some other people have in common with us, is that we try to do things for the community. We try to do things for the good of the community, because we love it and we want to help other people. But there's a lot that happens behind the scenes or has to happen behind the scenes, and people don't always know about that. So are there things that you wish people out in the indie horror community, the small press community, the writing community as a whole, what you wish that they could know about what happens behind the scenes?
I think it's important to remember that an editor or anyone involved with a small press being unresponsive from you should not be taken personally. I know that it's easy to forget that nowadays because you see people online posting, but people deserve their personal life. They have time set aside. Like I said, I have time set aside that I focus on this, and now I focus on this. And so I do see a lot of newcomers into the writing community getting absolutely flustered while they pace around and wait for responses from editors. And what I say, baby, is hit it and quit it, okay? Send it in and stop thinking about it, because it's nothing personal. And I know I drive people crazy sometimes, but what I'd like everyone to know is that patience is key. It really is, because we're not out here ignoring anybody for personal reasons.
No, and it's tough too to be a creator yourself, because you tend to put your own stuff on hold when you're doing these more community projects, like your contests and like your anthologies and things like that. Do you find that you kind of miss your own work when you're in the middle of one of those?
Yeah, I mean, that's everything in life. It seems like the only time I want to write is when I'm away from writing. Is that just me? If I go take a drive, I have a great writing idea. When I'm at work, when I'm working on something that I am collaborating with fellow creatives, that's when I want to sit down and write. So, yeah, of course I feel that way, but it's so rewarding. I had no idea Weird Wide Web would turn into all this, and I couldn't be more pleased with it, really.
What are you going to do if people just keep wanting more anthologies from you? Like, what if they love this one and then they just want you to do another one and another one?
No, my rule is that I'm only going to do what I want to do.
That's a good rule.
Can I introduce you to somebody, because I keep staring at her this whole time? She's not my art creation, but since we were talking about Gothic art, I really wanted to show you this piece I got from my friend Morgan, and her name's Morgan Brady. You can find her on Facebook if you like the piece. I call her Claudia, since this is a show about Girl Meets Gothic, and Claudia is from Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
And so this is Lord. Claudia.
Ooh.
So
she's beautiful.
She's a little coyote girl, vampire girl.
All right. Yeah, that's ornate. When you said you wanted me to meet somebody, I was like, is this her daughter? Is this her cat? Who is this going to be?
Thing staring at me with its empty eye sockets this whole time, because I was going to show it just for an interest piece. And it was like, come on, show me. So.
When people come to visit you and friends come to visit you, do they know you have all this weird stuff all over your house already? Or are they ever like, whoa, there's a coyote skull dressed as a little doll in the corner?
Yeah. Run away? I've had people come to buy stuff from me on Marketplace, like strangers, and I'll just invite them in the front room, and they're just like, wow. And then I've actually had people message me after the Marketplace encounter is over and start talking to me about horror and Gothic stuff, because, to be honest, people that are into it are dying to talk about it with somebody, because it's not for everyone. So.
What about it do you tend to think is what holds people back from admitting that they love beautiful, creepy stuff? Like, is it just fear of judgment? Is it that the people they work with would think they're weird? Like, why is it that not everybody will admit it with us?
I think people are scared. I mean, a lot of people are genuinely scared of dark things and darkness. One dark thing might open a portal to more dark things, and they just like light things, and that's fine too. But I think that there is some fear in the darkness. Some of us find it calming, me, and some people are a little creeped out by it.
And those are not our people, I guess.
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna start asking this question every show, because it amuses me. Okay.
Okay.
Either favorite paranormal or favorite Gothic trope in storytelling. So this could be like film, this could be short stories, this could be books.
Well, as far as like the old Gothic type books, I like the whole, this is going to sound bad, I kind of like the whole toxic lover trope, you know, like the Heathcliff, Wuthering Heights vibe. My goodness, I should have grown out of that by now, but you know, the lovers, the doomed lovers.
Well, is that just what we do? Like it are the Gothic women the girls who liked the bad boys, and now we've just sort of transferred that over. It was
probably Labyrinth, you know. It was the Goblin King.
Everyone can trace it back to.
I'm sorry, I'm so thirsty. I was trying to drink off camera at first, and I'm not really sure why, because I'm a human and I deserve water.
No. I usually I have wine too, but I've been trying to not get hungover as much lately.
Yeah, it's all that sugar in it.
Well, I love alcohol. Yeah. The alcohol too, sure, but it's the sugar that I blame.
That's what I used to blame. So.
I'm just thinking about how, you know, people talk about like their gay awakening, and so if there's like a Gothic awakening, is it Labyrinth?
Yeah,
that what we can take.
It was.
And of course, like we're talking about David Bowie, everybody. So if you are too young to know what that is, you need to go find it immediately.
Yes. 1986, Labyrinth. Jennifer Connelly. Look it up.
Yes. Young Jennifer Connelly. Inappropriately older David Bowie, Goblin King.
That did not click with me for the longest time. I must have been in my 20s, and I was like, wait a minute.
It's not until your mid-20s where you're like, hang on. It's like you have to be on the other side of some kind of hill, right? Where it's like, oh, that is creepy and inappropriate, right?
Absolutely.
You have to have like that vantage point, you know?
Yes.
Once I started to get like my own nieces, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, I've been writing for over 20 years I've been writing my whole life, but as far as sending them in and having people tell me yes or no. And I look back on stuff I did when I was younger, and it's just cringy because I was so young that I'm writing about young characters in situations that frankly I don't want to read about anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's so I teach writing classes, and I tell my students it's really tricky. One of the trickiest things is to have younger protagonists, younger characters, but have it be something for adult readers, you know, something that adult readers are interested in, because so often it's like if it's for who it's about, you know, so if you're reading about 10-year-olds, for the most part, like that's going to be for other 10-year-olds. But then you get amazing stuff like Stranger Things, which is the one I always call out when I think about a show with kids in it that adults want to watch. And I don't know if it's because there are adult characters too. I don't know if it's just such a compelling story, but I think it's because it's safe.
It's safe for us because I love horror and I love 80s horror. But you know what I'm good on is the teenage love fest, you know?
Yeah.
The older I get, it's like, why am I watching this? So I like it when I'm safe from having to see the teenage love fest, as I put it just now. And I think when we're guaranteed that, we can kind of relax and take in more and not be so much on edge, because I'm just there for the story and the horror and the character building and the world developing. And I don't need to see 16-year-olds making out.
Yeah, like we could just go, you know, we could go out in public and see that if we wanted to. So
yeah, well, that'd be creepy if we just sit there and watch people make out.
There's like times when I'm at work at the college, and I'm just sort of like, oh, don't need to see my student making out with that person, you know.
I forgot that you're a teacher. You're so cool.
No, I'm not. But
you have a freaking turtle. Okay.
I have a Russian tortoise, and he lives in a converted rabbit hutch in my living room, and it's ridiculous.
That's pretty cool.
Sometime I'll bring him on the show, but he's out in the other room right now.
Want to meet somebody else?
Sure.
I drew her.
Oh, she's scary.
I mean, I kind of traced her, but I mean, I drew her. You know, tattoo artists are artists, so they're not really drawing.
Absolutely.
So that's from. Do you remember? What was that? Oh, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, heck yeah.
That particular illustration scared the crap out of me, so I thought I'd recreate it.
speaking of like gateway horror drugs, like that, those collections for kids, you know, like you get hooked on that and then you end up being people like us.
Yes. I keep wanting to mention your stuff now, even though it's my show, but you end up writing The Puddlers. So crazy.
Yeah, I don't have that in here, but I did not think I was going to be a children's book author. It was never a planned thing, but you know,
but the world needs that. They need scary children's
They do
books.
need scary, and there are so many studies done about how the fun, scary stuff, like the stuff we do, it helps prepare kids for the really scary stuff they're going to focus on in their life, or that they're going to face one day. You know, that that if we are never, like, we have to, it's almost like practice being scared in safe ways when we're kids, like with campfire stories and scary movies and shows and scary books, like scary stories, more scary stories to tell in the dark, I think is another one. They help kids practice being scared, and they help kids practice being brave, because that's the other piece of that, right? That we're scared and we get through things, and then we realize we're okay, and then we are more prepared to be scared and brave the next time.
Absolutely. And I grew up on Goosebumps, and I'm practically fearless by now. So there you go.
I am still a good measure of fraidy cat, but I love it anyway. So kids, if you get hooked on that stuff, you end up being women like us and people with cute little bobs in your house.
Which is goals. I mean, that's goals.
Yeah, he's beautiful. And by the way, he usually goes in my living room. He's on display. I just borrowed him for my chat with Lindsey, everyone. But okay, what else? Anything you want people to know before we sign off? Is there something we didn't get to? Do you want us to know about a project, or I don't know, anything at all?
Well, it's just that weirdwideweb.org always has so much going on. I'm open to guest reviewers. If you don't have to be a professional author. This is a platform for everyone who enjoys art, music, books to come together, kind of like you were saying about the group that I created. And I have music reviews and movie reviews sent in by guests that get posted. You can go to weirdwideweb.org, and on the menu, click on WordPress blog to check out our blog. We'll have another writing contest coming up in spring, and there's cash prizes for that. And since Tales from the Lark Side was invite only, we're thinking about doing a sequel called Are You Afraid of the Lark? But you didn't hear that here. It's only because you stuck around through the whole show, so yeah, there might be an Are You Afraid of the Lark? I don't know.
Yeah, and if you stuck around, then you know that a little while ago, Lindsey was like, no more of these. And then it's like, no more except for this one that's already planned. So
it's just the title, though.
I know. I feel like you got to do it. It's there.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. If you hung out with us this long, two weird ladies and our ghosts, we really appreciate it. We really appreciate you. And be sure to follow Lindsey everywhere and follow Weird Wide Web everywhere, because there's so much going on that the only way to know is to keep up with it pretty much daily, because that's how.
And I'm everywhere. I never left any of the social medias because I'm nosy and I'm watching for y'all. So I'm on everything. Come find me.
All right. Okay. So find Lindsey, everybody. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, everybody.
All right.